Hello and welcome to yet another cast. For you today I have a custom 6v6 played on the map Tranquility 2, and my god, there's a lot of purple. Going by the fact that I use a lot of purple in my thumbnails and all that, you may be aware that I do like the color purple, but I mean this is just a bit much. And it's also a shade of purple that's really hurting my eyes. Anyway, we have Team 1 up here in the top, Team 2 down here in the bottom, and let's get into player introductions. Let's start at the westernmost player for Team 1. We have Microshift in this very dark greyish green, going Seraph and opening first land. Then, to the east of that we have Devastator, going UEF, opening first land in grey. To the east of that, in Cyan, opening first land and going Cybran, we have Veloci. I'm just gonna refer to them as Veloci. And just gonna try and pronounce that some Italian way, probably wrong every time, and in a different way. Anyway, to the east of that, in red, we have Yamiti Kudosai, going Seraphim and opening first land. Then, to the east of that, God, with this background it's really hard to tell, but I think that is the Regal Purple. Yes, it is. In that color we have Han Solo in this Regal Purple. They are going first land and Aeon. And then to the east of that, in this Fecal Brown, we have Samsung 4K going UF and opening first land. Right, let's get into the introduction of the bottom team. On their easternmost slot, in yellow, going Seraphim, and opening first air, we have Christian JC. Then, to the west of that, going Aeon and Burgundy Red, and also opening first land and apparently second air, we have Thad Thundercock, or how he's also known, Caps. Might refer to him just as that because I'm not saying that every time. Caps, you know what you have done with that, and you will probably know completely why. Anyway, to the west of that we have in white Cinnamon going Cybran and opening first land, and to the west of that we have Gallant Fav in dark blue opening first land as Aeon. Then to the west of that, going UEF and opening first land, we have Rockether in pink. And last but not least, in this slightly darker green. Or is it a slightly darker green? I really can't tell with this fucking background. Could also just be the normal green. Anyway, in this green we have Hyper going Cybran and opening... I think that was the first land opening, but there is an air factory out, so might have also been first air. Don't really know. Probably first land, second air. But yes, that's player introductions out of the way. God, this purple is really hurting my eyes. And it's really making it hard to make out some of these colors. Or some of the strategic icons on the darker colors. I mean, especially on the dark purple, it's already hard enough sometimes as is, but if that all just starts blending in with the background like that, that's not really helping. So if the map maker sees this, fuck you for choosing this color. And yeah, we're in 4 minutes, so I can say fuck you. But the map has some other cool stuff that I noticed while watching the replay earlier. Like just these small rivers and stuff like that with tiny ponds that don't really add to the gameplay. I mean, they make it impossible to place on that stuff, but it does add a cool level of detail. And a bit more texture. And of course just this massive mountain in the middle with that mountain pond. Or the lakes, which also do look quite nice. So in general, the map does look quite cool. I feel like these trees are out of place, but I guess it's just for the purpose of having some tree reclaim. But yeah, I have to say, when you ignore the fact that the color does hurt your eyes, it does really look quite nice. Anyway, let's maybe take a look at the ratings of these players, because there's something to point out. The lowest rated player at just 400 is Christian GC, though knowing how this goes, they will play surprisingly well. We are gonna get later that a bit later. Highest rated though, on the same team, unsurprisingly, is Wackifer at 1700. And unsurprisingly mean is that they are on the same team, unsurprisingly, as the way you usually balance out outliers in the bottom rating range is by having them on the same team as your highest rated players. But generally, the southern team very far spread out with their general ratings. The northern team much closer with a bunch of 1100s, a 900 and a 1500, as well as a 12 and 1400. A much closer rating spread. But yeah, this is a 10k map, and let's get back to the actual events of this game. Caps using that small force of Auroras to just start to push out a bit against the units out from Samsung 4K currently. And the Aurora shots also look really weird on this background. And I will probably point it out throughout the entirety of the game that this background does hurt my eyes and that the contrast makes everything look weird. And there's not gonna be, and I'm not gonna be apologetic about it. Like, that color choice is just horrible. I feel like I need sunglasses, though I don't have any at hand currently to put on, so that's not gonna happen. But the small force of auroras out from Caps being quite effective in taking out the spam, though we already have some T2 being built up by Samsung 4K, who has gotten some early T2 on that ACU. Gun speed is going up for the ACU of Caps, as well as range, not too surprising there. Gun is going up for Sanaman up here on the middle mountain range. Sorry about the short mute. I had to cough. Anyway, T2 is going up for Devastator for the northern team. But I think there was a short energy drop out from Hyper into the middle pond, but they may have just realized that there is that in truth there is actually nothing in that pond, so no real point to drop into that. But Gun now also going out for Microshift and for Yamete Kudasai. My Japanese is not very good, so you have to pardon my pronunciation of that. My Japanese pronunciation is not very good. I do not speak Japanese at all, so so saying my Japanese is not very good is would be a bit of a understatement. And well, let's get back to this. There's also Gun going out for Han Solo. Currently advanced range. Right, they just finished normal range and I already have gun speed. And Caps is using his commander to push out into the stuff of Samsung 4K against those PDs. Though there are Janus overhead, so he needs to be very, very careful about that. And that does actually pour in a lot of HP into, not a lot of HP, that does pour in a lot of damage into the ACU, which has now gone down into the red. The Caps should probably retreat, or that Thundercock. Again, probably gonna refer to him as Caps throughout this game, because... Not saying that every time, I'm just, well, I think I would need to be drinking, I would need to be a bit drunk to actually find that funny enough to say it every time. Because that name does seem quite vulgar. But even more generous pressure coming on to that commander, as well as some spam now coming, not being too helpful against that. Though veterancy has given him some additional HP again. But, well, I was about to say he is aware of the current dangers and is deciding to pull back, but no, he isn't. He's pushing right back into the fray. Should probably at least put some more AA. But, well, let's take a look at the other side of the map. What's going on here? We have some aggression out with some Auroras from Gal and Fav. And the AC of Wackerfall currently with T2 is up here as well, building some PD. And I was about to say on this ridge line, but no, it's not actually a really ridge line. It's a slight slope, a slight incline to a slightly higher position because, well, this map just feels weird in every way possible. Now, that PD will be definitely helping in trying to take out the stuff of Macroshift. Hyper also moving up their commander to the front line. And already at T3 Air. Currently getting up their T3 P-Gen. Let's see, how's T3 Air looking for Samsung 4K? They currently have T2, but there's no T3 queued up at this time. They are, however, building more Januses. I feel like Caps will be very, very annoyed about that. Since he has taken quite a bit of fire from that. Though he is now going for a shield upgrade, I guess, now realizing that he has taken a bit of unnecessary damage and the risk of taking more of that, thus taking just taking 8k additional HP. I seem to have a really difficult time talking right now, and I really don't know why. But Hyper coming in as well, supporting their teammate Wackerfall, who has been forced back due to the land spam. I think that was also land spam out from Devastator. I don't know if it's just me and maybe me having some not too great color perception or something like that. Or maybe just something with my monitor settings and stuff like that, but I have a really difficult time on this background to differentiate between the normal gray and the dark gray of Devastator and Microshift respectively. I mean, I'm aware that a lot of color perception is also just the contrast to the background and stuff like that, but come on. I feel like even pure white would have been better than this. Hello, Pi. Okay, so it's not only me. Good to know. Yeah. Now, Han Solo continuing to push on the other flank, forcing Caps back quite a bit. On that note, also not really any spam out for Caps now at this moment. Though he does have T2. But saying that there's also T2 out for Han Solo. Well, T2 spam. I already pointed out the T2 production for Samsung 4K earlier, T2 ACU. Yamete Kudasai actually also read regen around at ACU, but deciding to stay back at this stage of the game, probably due to the dangers coming with aggression in the later game stages. We are at 12 minutes, so air snipes are not completely out of question. And thus being at the front line with your commander can be very, very dangerous. Cap's going for advanced range, still wanting to use that commander very aggressively, and advanced range is going to be very, very annoying to deal with, as it does outrange the normal gun commander, but saying that, Han Solo, also Aeon, has already gotten that. And will be able to counter that quite effectively then. Now some PD out from Hyper on this side. Again, just defending against this spam out from Microshift, I believe. Yes, it is the Dark Grey. And also some fighting going on here in the middle. Slenderman currently going for T2, not going for T2, going for stealth on that commander. They have taken quite a bit of damage, so I completely understand why. Just not wishing to take any more damage. But there is currently no real aggression onto that front line or onto that mountain, so nothing to really worry about. They just had some drops, like some bombers dropped their payload. Is it Janus? And has killed some stuff, so I guess it was Janus. Which just dropped on this Enderman. I could swear that sounded more like a Strat or a Aeon, not Aeon, a Seraphim bomber. However, I can't see any of those, so it was probably just Janus. Never mind, there's a Seraphim bomber. Out from Christian. Well, now that the game has calmed down a little bit, let's take a look at economies. We're looking at 355 for Team 2, the southern team, and 471 for the northern team. So northern team currently over 100 mass ahead. That's really not a good sign, however, I believe Hyper currently the only player at T3 Air. Never mind, Samsung 4K does have T3 Air now, but they are currently still in the process of getting a P-Gen, so I don't think that really counts. And I see a Course Air, Devastator died to Hyper, and there wasn't a push, so I suspect that there was a Course Air snipe coming out from Hyper against Devastator, which, well, big surprise, a commander died, thus it was successful. Who would have guessed? If a commander dies, then the snipe was most likely successful. But there is the some PD right here that is firing into the firebase of Rockefeller. Though it is outnumbered by Rockefeller's PD, and thus we'll probably just go down to that. That goes. Yes. The Triad's now just retargeting onto the T1 PD. Helps pointing out the T3R. Fair enough, but again his team does already have T3R for some time now. Though currently there does not appear to be any proper aircraft coming out from Hyper. Though I guess, again, fair enough, there's not a lot of space up here. Yeah, doesn't really look like there's a lot of space there. Advanced range finishes up for Caps after, let's check that again, a long time. Guess it wasn't just that heavily assisted, and he is now going for shield. Cinnamon does have stealth and is now pushing into the ACU of Fulaci. Just down this mountain, and this does not look pathable. This looks way too steep to be pathable, but apparently it is pathable. Since I'm pretty sure those commanders were not airlifted and those NGs just are rolling up this comically steep incline. This also doesn't feel like it should be pathable. Yet somehow it is. But perhaps utilizing his blazes to just push out again. Take out some engineers that were probably reclaiming, maybe grabbing some mexes up here on the front. Taking out a T2 mex. Very nice. And Microshift now going for Nano in the pond right here in the back. Wait, no, not Nano, Advanced Nano. Really doesn't want to be sniped, I guess. Because that will be a really, really, really tanky commander. Though they apparently do not seem to have the E to actually afford that. Apparently, Merkithar deciding to go for the tactical missile. Very decent, very nice idea, as that can provide a lot of damage over long range and is also built quite quickly. And I don't see really any TMD right here, so that will most likely break through. Well, never mind, there is some TMD right here, but that's not covering the entirety of the back areas right here, so whatever. You just notice it, Hyper putting in the pushing in the Corsairs to snipe Veloci, taking out a second ACU with a Corsair snipe. And also having some support from Xenoman, who was pushing into that with their commander. And pretty sure this is played on partial shares since I just saw that unit die. But the rest being gifted over, so I assume that's the setting currently being used. But partial share, some players may not be aware what it is. It's basically like full share, it gifts over most units when the player dies, or most stuff. However, it doesn't gift over everything. Notably, it only gifts over economic structures and units. And no combat units, so no tanks, AA, mobile AA, stuff like that. Only buildings and engineers. And I think Zakus, since those two count as engineers. Or are treated as such. But with that, it is not quite as punishing as no share in a way that you lose everything when a player dies, but it is still punishing in the fact that when the player controlling a front line dies, their entire army will go down with them, and thus there's not really the ability for the opposing for that team to stand up to a potential push from the opposing player who may capitalize on the power vacuum that is still forming due to that. And that sounded like, or that looked like a lot of tactical missiles, and I was correct. Massive battery of, well, not massive, but a bunch of tactical missiles actually built up by Christian JC. Some of those actually getting quite a few kills. And while their base is developed in a, well, let's say questionable way, and still upgrading max and all that, they are 400, I am going to be... I understand why stuff like that isn't going to always work out that greatly. Also the build of the use of self-gens, stuff like that, which isn't really worth it most of the time. Unless you're really going for something really, really sneaky in the back of the base. But again, they are 400. I'm not gonna tear them down about it. To be fair, I did similar shit when I was more inexperienced, so whatever. And I think most players also did similar shit to that, so whatever. But a push now again coming out from Han Solo right here. Pushing against Caps, who currently is forced back, partially due to the HP pool on that shield going down very far. But there is some support also with T3 coming out from Cinema. Let's take a look at land tech. We have T3 out for Cinnamon, obviously, there are bricks. There is currently T3 and nearly done for Caps. There's T2 air and I think only T1 land out for Christian GC. T3 land out for Wackerfor. Currently accurate at T3 going up for Hyper. But I think that's only T1 land currently. T2 air out for Microshift and T2 Seraphim land by the looks of it. Don't know where the HQ to that is, but there is a... here it is, yeah. And let's see, how does UEF tech look? Well, only T2 at this time, but there is a T3 Cybern HQ, so they do have access to T3 land, as well as T2 air on Cybern as well. T3 air out from Yamete Kudasai, as well as currently a T3 land factory upgraded, a T2 land factory currently upgraded to T3, sorry, mixed that shit up. And T3 land production out from Han Solo. I did notice that a bit earlier due to some harbingers they had built up, but yes. Caps continuing to be very aggressive with the commander. I mean, currently it's not a problem since there are bricks to tank the damage, but there's a lot of T2BD to be wary of in these positions. And those will shred ACUs very, very fast. But yeah, let's see, is there... Wait, what? Ah, Wakatha went for the Billy nuke. Right, that was what that nuke was about. And I think that got quite a bit of value. Though due to Microshift being having a advanced nano, that did not actually deal too much damage to that, since 37 HP, 37,000 HP is quite a bit, especially if you're not standing in the inner damage ring of the Billy nuke. So, what I was actually wanting to do was check for the land tech of Han Solo, though that's a bit obsolete now since Han Solo no longer has any land production. Not Han Solo, Samsung 4K. Han Solo does have land production, and that's the purple player. I was just confusing names, sorry about that. Though, on the note of Han Solo, they have just built an experimental. And I believe that is the first experimental of the game, so I guess you could say hand shot first, or something like that. But I don't think there's currently anything to really counter that GC. Caps currently only with that commander, which is not gonna hold up against the GC, and a bunch of T2. Bunch of blazers. The problem with the GC, of course, being that even if you have a sizable a proper T3 army, the tractor class gonna make it really, really difficult for the T3 army to be really effective. Even after the damage of the claw has been nerfed from insta-kills to just a bit of damage over time, those are still very, very powerful. Now, push coming out on the western flank from Microshift with a lot of MMLs and just that super tanky ACU, which now also has T3. Now, T3 double nano or advanced nano and gun is really scary. Like, the normal gun isn't that impressive, but... Right, I think Caps just went down to the GC. Pointing out the GC with the ping. The GC is scouted with his face, I guess. But yeah, anyway, back to Microshift's ACU. The gun, of course, not providing later game too impressive DPS, at least if you don't go on overcharge. Like, it's still pretty decent, but nothing to really write home about. But the HP pool with, especially when the commander starts to vet with the T3 upgrade, which already increased HP by quite a bit, and the double nano, which increases it incredibly. And yeah, you can see 3 ranks of veterancy, 48,000 HP and over 258 regen. Hyper currently struggles just sniping that with those fighter bombers, with those Corsairs. As while that technically does not out-heal those Corsairs, it almost does. And that high HP pool also, again, really hard to deal with. Logiffer going in a bit closer, just trying to get off the bully a bit better. Does have res on that commander, in addition to T2 and the bully. I guess to take off the edge from the cost of the bully nuke, as that is quite power intensive. But currently forced to dodge quite a bit due to all these MMLs. Though saying all of them, most of these MMLs have actually died. Hyper going for tally. Already laser and the gun upgrade finished. Something I have seen quite often with Hyper, as I have casted them quite often, that they tend to go for some laser shenanigans. And yeah, Microsoft's ACU just tanking the bully nuke to the face right there. So yeah, the commander is really scary with that HP pool. Like at 51k HP, I think that is actually tankier than a chicken. And not tankier than a chicken, tankier than a monkey lord. Yes, it is. Though, on the note of a chicken, there's a chicken somewhere. Right here. Yamete Gudosai has built up a chicken. And it is currently pushing to support Microshift. Never mind, it's pushing over the middle island. And what I completely missed is that the GC out from Han Solo has pushed into the base of Christian GC. Now a Monkey Lord out from Xenoman is coming in to counter that. But Christian GC basically losing their entire base to that push. And you can just see the GC clearing up all these units. So that was what I was on about earlier, with the GC being very good and just dealing with larger armies. Hyper apparently cancelling the tally upgrade and just going for a transport right onto the AC of Microshift, who, again, while very tanky, not tanky enough to tank that laser to the face. That Cyprian chest laser. That is just pouring damage into that. Probably not a big reason why that does just end up like that is the why the HP is the one of is basically the HP pool of an experimental. The DPS, due to only having the normal gun upgrade, is not. But Hyper immediately pulling back. The transport sadly died in the explosion. Though they need to be very careful, as there is chicken right here. Not too far from that commander. And it is currently queued up to follow that commander by the looks of it. So Hyper could be in a lot of trouble with that. Now another GC out from Han Solo. Currently targeting down bricks and other stuff, and thus took quite a bit of free fire from the Monkey Lord out from Xenoman. but retargets in time to take that out. On the other hand, I think there's enough T3 units left to kill that. Not enough sucking power on those claws. Well, saying that, all but one Harbinger have actually died in that, so never mind. And I completely missed the fact that the chicken, as I expected, took out the ACU of Hyper. And is now pushing onto Wackerfell, who is in range of that, so will probably also go down. Yes, and there goes Wackerfell. That chicken definitely paying for itself, killing off 2 players. And by looks of it also a base. So... Microshift thanking Yamete Kudasai for avenging them. Fair enough. But with that, this game is actually down to a 3v3. I didn't point out the player counts earlier, but yeah, that actually... half of the players this game actually died already. Didn't really expect that. But Christian GC just rebuilding their base currently. Doing, again, a questionable play out from low-rated players. Again, not gonna be tearing them down about it. Just not getting up more build power to get their stuff back up and not actively reclaiming what's left of their base. It's something you really want to do to accelerate the build up again. The other thing is that it's a lot cheaper to build that stuff at T2 max up. Or back up at T2 max instead of T3 maxes. But okay, here are the reclaim commands out, so fair enough. Right, Cap's pointing that stuff out. And another GC has arrived at the front line for Han Solo. Though this time there is also a Megalith to counter that. Megalith having a significant HP advantage and of course also a significant range advantage. Being more of a siege unit when used at land, with its high range. Though not quite as much of a siege unit as the Fat Boy that is currently being put up by Cinnamon on the other flank. Now let's see, is there any funny play going on? Cinnamon is going for a nuke. Though there is already SMD out for Samsung 4K. And Han Solo. And Yamete Kudasai. So, not really gonna be too successful in that. Yeah. There's another chicken going on, going up there, and another GC going up for Han Solo. So just more of the same. A Fat Boy coming out from Samsung 4K. But yeah, game is turning a bit more static right now, so... while not too much is going on, let me speed up the game a bit. Let's see. There is some defending stuff out from Gallon Fath. In the form of some T2 and T3 on this flank. Just helping out with some stuff there, and we see a push going, and there are some pushes going on. So let's slow the game right back down. Right, okay, this does not continue to push actually, but did do some pushing, so whatever. There are some solvers in here, which I'm really still torn about, since, again, solvers deal basically no damage to normal targets and only deal damage to shields, basically. Though they are very effective at tearing down shields. But, well, if you take a close look at this side of at this front line, I don't really see a lot of shields. Like, really not a lot of shields, so... really not worth it, and yeah, I guess they can be very useful when the opponent is heavily relying on shields, but if that's not the case, they are basically useless. Also, I'm not sure how much you need to actually babysit them to focus down any units with shields to provide maximum effectiveness while they are active, or if they maybe will just automatically prioritize anything with shields. But another Megalithe has arrived at the front line right here. So 2 crabs against currently no experimentals. Would love to see that front being pushed up a bit. Though to be fair, there are 3 GCs right here. And those will... well, I don't think those will really kill the Megalithes, but those will pour in some damage into those Megalithes. Fatboy finishes up for Cinnamon. Just like another GC, another Megalith, another Megalith. But still would like to see this army just push up into this stuff. Maybe even into this direction, since I think there's less defense in the base of Yamato Kurdozai. But, oh well. Can't have everything. Right, Rakatha pinging maxed at RT2. Nice move out of them, since that way they are still able to be quite helpful. Hyper pinging ACUs, basically same spirit. Dead players, if you don't want to leave the game, if you're still observing, you can still be very useful in just pinging everything that is going on the map. Now there is a nuke launcher also going up for Samsung 4K. That, well, there aren't actually any SMBs for the Southern team players. So that could actually get quite a bit of value. Strat bombers out from Samsung 4K being used to try and deal with the Megaliths, I guess. I would love to see a bit more flag up here to deal with the those shimmers. But those Megaliths just pouring in their long-range artillery fire into these GCs, though not focusing down a single one of them. Well, now they are, because one of them died. However, there's also this fat boy that is pouring in additional damage. And very nice, we see this backwalking with the Megalith. Of course, if you give it a normal move command in the backwards, the Megalith will just turn around and start moving normally, which proves quite problematic, since the entire firepower of the Megalith is in the front on turrets that cannot turn 360 degrees, so, or even 180 degrees, so the problem you get with that is that the Megalith can't fire backwards. Thinking about it, that's actually something that a lot of Cyberpunk units seem to have in common. Like, the entire Cyberpunk T2, like Cyberpunk T1 and T2 Navy has that in common, with all of it not being able to fire backwards and having all of its firepower in the front. And then you have the Megalith. Though, I mean, technically it's not a lot, but yeah, it feels like a recurring theme for the Cyberpunks that they can't fire backwards with their stuff. But the 2 other GCs do go down in the end. This Megalith has taken quite a bit of damage, though this one is still very healthy, and there is another one coming up in the back. Though the Fat Boy is doing what the Fat Boy does best and has started kiting away. Pulling back, and my strategy is nailed on that. It's just basically invisible due to the contrast with the background, just basically hiding UAF shields. Like with this normal purple, or with this main purple background, you really just can't see these UAF shields for some reason. Again, contrast on this map is just horrible. Map creator, if you should ever see this, maybe consider changing the color of the map slightly to something that's less aggressive and less confusing and messing with the background when putting on different colors. But Fatboy already at 1 rank of veterancy with 24k mass code, almost at a second rank, and pouring in quite a bit of damage into these megaliths, which, well, they are getting quite close to that megalith. Not megalith, to that Fatboy, so that might be an issue for that, as Fatboy does not stand up well to sustain megalith fire. Though it has just started pulling back again. We see some Razakus out with shields for Samsung now. Very decent idea, as the shield on the Zakus does have a lot of HP. 26k in the case of the UEF ACUs, not ACUs, Zakus. And that definitely reduces the risk of those dying when reclaiming on the front line greatly. Though you would probably still be better off just using T1 engines to reclaim. Because, well, Zakus are the kind of build power you want either on your base or as a proper Rambo unit to just push through. But especially if you're using Raz Zakus, you don't want them on the front line. Those are just way too valuable in your base. Halberfam started by Christian GSC, and they are sitting at around 150 eco, so that will take some time. Like, not completely forever, but it will at least take some time. And they are building Zakus. Don't think they have to build power for their current mass spending. No, they don't. If you're newer to FAF, again, or Subcon in general, again, something to point out, you want to spend the mass you currently are gaining, and that's very important, but you don't want to be overspending it by too much. Like, don't know what the ideal thing would be. Like, ideally you wouldn't be stalling at all. Ideally you would be with 0 mass stored and a plus minus and no deficit and no overflow, like perfectly eco-balanced. No, that's not achievable, but you should try to get as close to that as possible, while still remembering to build to keep building up your eco. Like, there are some things where it's more acceptable to stall, like upgrading maxes. On note of doing that, also you can assist that with engineers, which does speed it up and is generally a good idea. And also when building experimentals or RT, I guess, so well, since it's the only thing they currently seem to be doing, I guess it's not too bad that they are stalling. Though, yet again, that mass would probably be better spent on upgrading the Nexus right now. Or loading the SMD, as there is a nuke out. And I was going to say, I think that's the only SMD, but no, there is one in the base that once belonged to Rocketha, I believe, built up by Cinnamon. This nuke is loading quite quickly now, or well, not really quite quickly, but it is over. I think it's something like 2/3 loaded, so there should definitely be SMD up. It's currently not too much SMD up, and it's definitely further loaded than the nuke out from Cinnamon. Now, push on this side from Alan Faf that I completely missed because I was talking about other shit. It seems very typical of me. Has been quite effective in pushing into this general direction right here and now coming down into the lower area, into the low ground. Never mind, that's one level, there is no low ground right here. I was mistaken on the layout of this map, once again. These lines right here completely threw me off on that. but taking out significant amount of the base that once belonged to Microshift, and also causing some damage to the base that belonged to Devastator. But once again, we're up to 3 Megaliths for Xenoman on this flank. Dear God. That's a lot of firepower. That's a lot of Daka. And let's see, is there SMD? Yes, there is SMD now going up for Gallon Fast. And there seems to be a lot of power put onto that. Good call. Honestly, would still love to see some SMD in this in this general backbase right here for Xenoman, just to be sure. But once again, I will be disappointed in that, I guess. Fatboy for Samsung continues to push forward. It's really hard to tell that that thing has a shield enabled. Jeez. And let's see, is there currently anything to counter that? Not by the looks of it. Well, to be fair, there are the Megaliths, but you need to push into that, and that is connected with pushing into a not insignificant force of T3 and now also another GC. So maybe some T2 RT wouldn't be a horrible idea. Now the nuke does go in, and it does land because there is no SMD here. But it doesn't take out too much, I think. Let's see how much mass it actually killed. It killed only 42k mass. I say only because most nukes I usually see are more in the 50 to sometimes even 70 to 100k mass kills, so after a good launch, so 40k mass kit is on the lower end of that. But the thing I just pointed out with the RT, Xenoman seems to have had a similar idea, going for some miasmas, which, come on, let's select that properly, are capable of reaching quite far into the backline of that span, and very soon also to hit that fat boy, which is quite easily punished just from T2 Artifier. Though they are now under fire from this GC and General T3. And the one thing you don't want to happen, the Fatboy has made it into the range, has come close enough to that range to deal some damage or to fire upon the RT. Sorry about hitting the mic there. Yeah, that RT does go down for the most part, and thus the Fatboy is basically again really, well, not really dangerous or unopposed, but well, yeah, especially with that, it's no longer unopposed because there's no longer a Fatboy. Well, there's a new Fatboy, but those strats just easily shooting down the Fatboy. Well, not really shooting it down, killing the Fatboy, taking it down. I sometimes have some difficulties, or some great difficulties, with the English figures of speech. As, once again, as I pointed out many times in previous casts, I'm not a native English speaker. And Strat going for this SMD, but not actually getting it, though getting most of the build power supporting that. And thus the SMD does survive, and yeah, that will deny a nuke from going in there. Now, how's the nuke for Xenoman looking? It's almost loaded. However, once again, the core bases of the northern team are all shielded with SMD, so that won't go anywhere. Not gonna be too successful. The Megaliths once again pushing forward. And tanking quite a bit of the Fatboy fire, but about to take out the JC. There it goes. And pouring in a lot of damage into that army, and I think those actually do have the range to reach the Fatboy. As the Fatboy shield was reached, but never mind, those are pulling back, so now they definitely don't. And I hear a chicken. Where do I hear a chicken? Ah, up here, because there was another push with multiple GCs out from Galen Fath. That once again I completely missed. I seem to be missing basically everything they are doing, and I am very sorry about that. But yeah, well, not one chicken, but two chickens and a whole bunch of T1 bombers as well as a bunch of Ravagers just taking out these GCs, turning them into a massive mass gift. Microsoft pointing out where they should probably nuke, and Salaman does nuke, and Salaman does nuke into that area, heeding the advice of Microsoft. Right, yeah. Can see that. I can technically even hover over that and get a special button for the special mouse overlay with the commands, but sadly I cannot adjust them. Well, what means sadly? It's a replay, of course I can't adjust them. Shouldn't be too surprising. And yeah, anyway, there is no SMD, so the nuke does land, and we have the beautiful Cypern Ball of Death rising to the sky. And this looks really funky if you accidentally zoom out to the side of the map, because this is a fully sized map, thus you actually have a border that you will clip into when you do that. Now, nuke went out from Samsung, but there's an SMD right here and it is loaded, so that nuke will probably be shot down, and we see here you can see a very large tag missile battery out from Christian JC. And the hover flame has finished. I think that has adjacency, yeah, those are the adjacency thingies, so it does have adjacency. No idea how long that actually built, but it has finally finished, and I don't think there's currently any counter-artillery. So, while there would have probably been better investments, they are doing that will probably be a good start for that team in terms of standoff technology. And by the looks of it, there was some very, very filthy tech sharing between Samsung and Han Solo, since Han Solo is building one of their own Fat Boys. But on the note of Han Solo, their base is not shielded at all. So that half of them could hit that quite easily, though I think it's just auto-targeting. But the tag missile bank, something I point out that that exists, but I didn't go deeper into that. Actually not too bad of a call, because, well, not sure if that has been used yet. I could one thing with costing 1000 mass, but it is definitely able to take out some other very valuable stuff, some high priority targets. Especially standoff experimentals or siege experimentals like the Fat Boy that rely on the high range and are most likely not moving that far when they start firing, unless they need to retreat. And thus, yeah, that is actually, that can actually be pretty useful against that stuff. Now, large amounts of Strat Bombers and T1 Bombers coming out to try and deal with these Megaliths, though the Megalith just being a massive, messy, chunky boy, just taking that to the face and just continuing to move on without any obstruction, and yeah, just continuing onwards. Pouring in more and more fire into the opponent, though there are quite a few Clinkhammers that are also very good against the Megalith. Just like T2RT is a good counter against the Fat Boy when you are being pushed by Megaliths, that also goes for the Megalith, as it is also a more slower unit. And it prevents it from staying stationary to just fire down upon your shit, since it is threatened from the RT. However, unlike the Fat Boy, the Megalith does have a large HP pool, meaning that it can just tank that and just walk in. Something that the Fat Boy can't. However, the Fat Boy can actually retreat while firing, so it's all a trade-off. The Fat Boy is more suited towards kiting, or sieging a base that is not protected by RT. While the Megalith is more of a hammer that you use to push in, because it just takes damage, and it takes more damage, and continues to take more damage, and it doesn't die. As you can basically see right here. But those are currently very, very threatening to the base of both Han Solo and Samsung. Though Samsung has already lost their base due to RT, and I see another RT firing. Yes, there is a Duke actually built up from Salaman, which I think can't get proper double adjacent or proper additional adjacency due to the small water section here. Right, but yeah, what I just missed, Samsung dying to the RT fire of Christian and GC. But yeah, about that, let's just take a short look at this. Maybe pause so that the other stuff doesn't go on, but yeah. Due to the water, there are no more pigeons that can be built there. But yeah, let's get back into the game. The push is continuing. There are still 3 Megaliths alive. All of them still in the yellow, and now that they have all wetted quite a bit, all regaining health due to their veterancy. This one with a whopping 129k mass killed. And 125 regen. This one only in quotation marks with 100 regen. Still quite a bit. But that Megalith is in the yellow, but still has more HP than a normal Megalith without veterancy. Though this one is about to go down to large amounts of chickens. Which, however, may have difficulties taking out these 2 Megaliths, as they are slightly more vetted and now also focusing down chickens. One goes down. That will spawn a lightning storm that will also heavily damage the other chicken, though also the Megaliths, and there was a Yolana Oz. I completely missed the fact that they built a Yolana Oz, the rapid-fire nuke launcher of the Seraphim Game Ender. But the death nuke of that did take out the AC of Yamato Kudasai, after it was shot down by the Megaliths. And the Yolana nuke doing delayed damage, about to probably take out this Megalith. Yes, that goes. And everything in that general area. But Han Solo, seeing that there's no way of winning this, also considering another push on this side that I completely missed, as always, apparently this game, decides to control K, and with that, Southern Team does actually win in the end. Right, I hope you enjoyed this game. If you did, you can like the video. It was streamed live on Twitch, link to that will be, as per always, in the description. And yeah, there will be more podcasts like this going out in the coming weeks, months, years. I don't know how long I'll be doing this. So yeah, if you want to be notified when those do come out, you can always subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, hope to see you again in a future cast or stream, and till then, bye!